Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Donald MacLeod. I'm Principal Teacher with eSgoil. And one of the responsibilities that I hold in eSgoil is the webinars. Now the thing won't move. Oh, there we go. Great. And this is an overview of eSgoil, which is not the purpose of today, but just to give you some of the context for the kind of business that we do. Joan has mentioned some of them. We also have a core business that we've been running for years where we for supply cover for schools. We do work in eSgoil, which to do with interrupted learners. We also work in the world of Gaelic medium education and anything we can do to broaden curricular offers across Scotland. So that's kind of a potted history of what eSgoil does. The webinars, they are ever increasing in numbers. Currently, there are 65 weekly webinars in place. They happen during the day, they happen in the evening. We are doing our best to cover as many levels, as many subjects as possible, partly driven by availability of staff and people that we can find to deliver these webinars. We do plan to continue to expand until we can virtually say we're covering every subject over a certain level of presentation. We've obviously kept a very close eye on that from the outset. This is some of the data for our evening webinars. You can see so far we've had 9,714 bookings from almost 4,000 pupils. Uptake there you can see by City Council. It's varied across the councils depending on the buy-in from these local councils. Pupils book in individually, I'll go into that in a minute. So they're not booked in as a class, they book in as individuals, and the heartening thing is the numbers continue to grow, pupils keep coming back, and pupils seem to get a lot out of the webinars. Since lockdown has come in, we've also started doing daytime webinars, and these daytime webinars I've got 416 at the moment. Our webinars always take a wee while to grow. They've been going for about 2 or 3 weeks, and we find that the numbers just grow and grow, quite often through kids saying to their pals, this is really good, come along. Or sometimes people will discover us all of a sudden, and we will quite often get phone calls from parents saying, I've just discovered your webinars. I wish I'd known about this a few months ago. And they then sign up their youngsters to it. So what's a webinar when it's at home in the world of eSgoil and in the world of study support? The reason they're called webinars is that they're not lessons as such. The design is there's a large group of pupils. I think we're probably the biggest group we've taught at one time, 120, 130, probably in maths higher or Nat 5 maths or English. We have 2 teachers on virtually all calls. They have 2 different roles. What we call the lead teacher is the person who's responsible for bringing together the lesson in partnership with the other teacher, but also to deliver on the day. Pupils do not have their cameras on, do not have their mics on, but they do have chat. And my goodness, do they make use of it. I did the chat for one of our webinars, and in some ways I thought I would have a nice 45 minutes, but my fingers were sore by the end of it because kids keep asking things from, could you ask them to explain that again? Or I don't get it, or could we look at number 5? Or in fact, my friend can't get into the meeting, can you help her? Which is a bit of a challenge when you don't know anything about the friend. We adopt a flipped learning model, which is posted in chat before the session. Mostly voice over PowerPoints. That was by design from the outset, that flipped learning would be there and that youngsters would access that learning before the meeting. We call them legacy materials that we harvest by eSgoil, and anyone who's doing webinars for us know that's the deal, and these will then be shared, as was mentioned earlier, with WestOS or the supported learning space, and that way it's a win-win-win. There are good learning experiences during the webinar, but we also then have our legacy to bring forward with us into the future. So how do you join a webinar? You go to the website, You need to have your Glow ID ready. It's essential for registering. That has been, from the outset, that was a decision that was made early doors. You press sign up here. Once you get into the study supports website, you'll be amazed how many people phone and say, I can't see where to sign up. We think it's quite obvious, but not everyone gets it. That then takes you into a menu of our webinars, and you just click the ones you want to join, and you are then automatically added to the team for that webinar that has already been created for you. And then from there, you can access the chat. Even if you join in week 7 of an 8-week block, you then still have access to all the 7 weeks materials that's on there. So we often encourage young people not to worry about joining in week 7 of an 8-week block, because they do get the materials from the previous weeks, because they're all stored in the team, and all our materials are stored either in SharePoint or in video, so that they will not disappear when the team does eventually disappear. What do our pupils tell us? These are quotes: lifesaver, very helpful, great teachers, we want more. We are very into being involved with our pupils and learning from our pupils how we're doing things and what we need to change. Overall experience, the last set of evaluations that were run came at 4.6 out of 5, which we take great encouragement from. Numbers attending are high, and polls are regularly taken as to what to study next. That is quite a challenge, and I take my hat off to our staff in the webinars who are very much in touch with the young people. There is an 8-week plan which we publish at the beginning of the sessions, but we always take it as fluid, changing and changeable, because like any good teacher, if you discover that 90% of your pupils need to learn more about triangles or would like to, then you're obviously going to do triangles. You can guess what my teaching background was. So what are our next steps? We're almost at full coverage of subjects and working on more and more levels to be added. We're committing to run until June 2021 because of the SQA deadline for submission of evidence, to be with pupils on the journey as far as we can take them. We have exciting plans for an Easter study school, and within an hour of publishing a request from young people for expressions of interest, I think I had something like 181 young people expressing interest. Now, a few days later, we have 495, and that's not just for one webinar, that's for several webinars. So we're pretty confident we have a market. Likewise, we've surveyed our own staff, and 27 of them are already engaged to work that week. It runs from the 6th of April for a fortnight, and there'll be at least two sessions a week for each subject. So staff have signed up, and a wee challenge for yourselves. If you're interested, please contact us, because there will inevitably, when we try and match what young people want webinars in and the staff we have available, there'll be some gaps, and we're happy to take any expressions of interest. These are my contact details, which happy to hear from any of you with further questions or seeking information, or indeed to have a look at some of the materials we have. We do that on an individual basis if a request comes in. We do not, as a matter of course, put teachers to sign up for an 8-week block of a webinar, but if you want to go as a guest on occasion so that you can see what a webinar looks like and feels like for a pupil, we're happy to do that, and we can arrange that for you. Thank you for bearing with me at the beginning, and I now pass over to one of our webinar teachers, who is Ian Stewart from Beeslack Community High School, and he does our higher chemistry webinar at the moment. So over to you, Ian.